Welcome everybody to another episode of MC Fireside Chats. We are maybe light on guests this week. I don't know. We had a bunch of people who were scheduled to show up who apparently just decided that they had too much fun at the glamping show, or maybe they're still recovering, Scott. I'm not sure. It was a good show, but we'll see what we can do for you guys today as far as content. We got some cool things I think we can talk about. Obviously, we have special guest Stephanie here, who I'll let introduce herself in a second, who will be talking to you about Base Camp 37. I think we do a recap of the glamping show and some of the experiences there. We could probably cover the Marriott announcement, Scott. I think we could talk about some of that. And then maybe at the end, if we have time, we'll talk about how the whole world's going to change with Sora 2. And it's going to be really interesting how social media and how you market your park changes as a result of that. But first, let's go around the room. Scott, you want to introduce yourself first?
Hey, yeah. Good afternoon, I guess it is now, everybody. I'm Scott Foos. I am a managing partner and co-owner of Horizon Outdoor Hospitality. We are a third-party management professional services firm exclusively serving the outdoor hospitality space. Really excited to be back here again, Brian. Thanks so much. I think I missed last month. You were in Ireland, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, I was in Ireland, so I didn't even know that you missed last month. But now I've got you. Yeah, I keep a list of all the people that miss
You
shows.
can
So.
you can mark my attendance
Yeah,
down. Yeah.
we can charge you later and I'll put it on your tab. Welcome, Scott. I appreciate it. We have like so many people missing. We should have Zach Stoltenberg here. He was at the lodging conference in Arizona, so I feel like he has an excuse, which we'll talk about later as we indicated. But Joe Duemig, Casey Cochran, we might have to get some new guests here. I don't know. Stephanie. Sorry, I almost called you Stacy. I don't know why. Stephanie, please introduce yourself.
Yeah. Hey, folks. My name's Stephanie, and I'm the general manager here at Base Camp 37. We are a 10-acre glamping property in southern Utah, right on the border of Arizona and Utah, tucked between Grand Staircase, Zion, Bryce, and the Grand Canyon. We're an independent, woman-owned. There's just two of us, myself and Amy Offeld. She's our owner. Just two of us running. We have 5 tents, and we're in our 9th year of operation here, and we absolutely love it.
So
I think that's a good intro. This is
you were
what we
one of
do
the
here.
early adopters who figured out that Zion was going to be popular before they all blew up during COVID and all came and joined you, right?
Yeah, actually, we were the first glamping site in this region, in the Zion region, in the southern Utah region. So proud of that, and kind of started a new
Yeah.
trend. They didn't even know how to tax us or permit us when we started.
I feel like they still don't know how to tax and permit anybody, but that might be another 20, 30 years before they get that under their belts. It's government after all. Scott, is there anything that's come across your desk in the last, well, maybe 2 months since you've been on the show, but month? Knowing that we'll talk about the glamping show in Marriott, is there anything else that kind of has come across your desk that you think we should talk about?
Well, I think the Marriott piece was what I had jotted down for this show for today. I think that it's an interesting, not unexpected announcement, but an
No.
interesting announcement and development. We could chat about that whenever it makes sense, though, Brian. I think that the focus for us remains, and I know that's the topic of this show is guest experience and how we can ensure that we're continuing to push the envelope. Being at the glamping show last week was, as always, really inspiring and exciting, and it's really more than anything. We've continued to see it commercialize and grow over the last 5 or 6 years that I've been going. I think it's been around a little bit longer than that, but it's still, you have so many great ideas and innovations and things that people are doing and trying, and from the physical units and cabins and tents and orbs and all sorts of things that are out there.
Was there
And
orbs? Did I miss
I
orbs
don't
at the
know.
show?
No, I'm sure I saw one. I don't
I
know
think
if
you
it was
should start a
actually something
company that
used.
builds orbs. That would be pretty cool. I'd buy one.
But but anyways, it's exciting to see how you can continue to innovate how people are continuing to innovate the guest experience, from what you sleep in to what you do on site.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Well,
let's start with the glamp. Go ahead. You were going to say something else?
no, no,
Or,
please. I was going to ask what your thoughts were of the Glamping show.
I mean, I
Hmm.
I think that you're right. Like it's interesting because I think I was expecting it to be a little bit different just given the transition between David Course and Emerald, right? I don't know if I necessarily expected it to be better or worse, just different in some way. And I don't know that it was. Like all the things that you're talking about were there. They were present. The new people coming in, the more corporatization, the people who had been there year after year. It was great to hear from some of the speakers, like the Bolt Farm tree houses, and the Honeychuck people who were there again. But some of those people have talked before. I don't think the Bolts have, and so you're used to hearing the big stories and big players. So I don't know if the education track to me was that different. What did you think? I didn't get to attend too many sessions, honestly.
I did not make it into any of the sessions, but I had some team members that did, and they thought that the sessions were helpful and informative. I think when you think about who the average and Stephanie, I'd love to know your perspective. I assume you did not go to the glamping show
I
last
did
week.
not. No, I'm here
Okay,
full time on property.
you're here full time. That's right.
Every
You've
day
got
meeting
plenty of things.
guests.
But if you were starting out 9 years ago, did
Mhm.
you? I can't remember. Was the glamping show a thing, Brian, back then? And would that have been something that would have been helpful for you, Stephanie, to go and experience as an aspiring glamping operator?
According to, before you answer, just to answer your question, Scott, according to Anne from Honeytrek, who was on our show last week, she says 8 years she's been coming to the glamping show, and it was in some tiny little hotel ballroom the first year or something.
Oh, okay.
I think the first big one was 2019, big-ish one, because
Okay.
I was at that one, and then I missed a year or two for COVID. So, like, not 9 years ago, no. But go ahead, Stephanie.
Yeah, no. So Amy and I, she's the owner, have always chatted about going to the glamping show and toyed around with it. As a small team, it's one of those things that probably get a little lower on our priority list when we're like,
Yeah.
oh, we should repair the deck instead. So it is one of those things that we would definitely see that being beneficial. We love just seeing what people are putting out there, some of those new designs. She sent me a couple of posts of like this roll out, pop out safari style tent, and it looks really cool. Because if we do ever decide to put another tent on, we do safari style tents right now on these wooden platforms. It might look a little different in the future if we bump up to 6 units on our property. But right now we're just at 5. And then we also just love the networking. We ourselves network just through social media and stuff like that, and have a lot of great relationships, like Glamping Canyonlands out by Canyonlands. They're wonderful. And although we've never met them, we feel super close to them. And so we do love the networking aspect of events like that too. But maybe in the future you'll see us there because we'll prioritize it. We'll go.
Well, you have to,
Well,
right? Like, I mean, I've been in business for 16 years, and for the first 8, it was just me.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah.
This is actually our first year where I'm GM officially and not just contract side help Amy, where I'm in more of a full-time capacity. So for the last 8 years, I've been just supporting Amy and lifting her up, and it's been her more solo. And now at 8 years, we're making a switch like this. So it takes a while when you run your own property and you're independent. Those things take a while. Yeah.
And I'm curious too. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, did I read that your property is off grid?
Oh, yes, it is. Well, we're on grid with our power and we have fiber internet. So no, I'm sorry. I totally ignore that. We're on grid with our water. We hooked up the city water about 4 years ago. We took ourselves off our well, but we are totally solar powered. So we are really proud to be generally eco-friendly and off-grid living, especially as it relates to all of our electricity. So each tent has their own little solar setup and array, and it has a little goal zero generator inside of it. And then we have a larger array and a big solar shed with 10 batteries in it that run where I live and then where the guests shower and eat and cook food and stuff like that.
I have an interesting question.
Man, we have to have the internet because I'm on it right now.
I have an interesting question for you, Stephanie. I'm curious. Before I give my thoughts, because they did send me the glamping survey and I filled it out, and I'm going to tell people what I said on it, right? Mostly good. But I'm curious, with the trade-off that you're talking about making, it's obviously a very hard sell to come to the glamping show when it's just the two of you. Is there something that you can imagine in your head where you'd see the glamping show do next year that you're like, okay, this is worth the trade-off. I have to go to this?
Oh, well, that's a really good question. Oh, I think for us, a really big thing is networking, is meeting other people and learning from them. I think sometimes we hear from a lot of folks that are like corporate and they have a really unique design, and that's neat. And we love to see that. But what we really love to hear is people's stories. Oh, when this broke, we did this, and
Mhm.
here's how we recovered. When this happened, or the national parks closed, here's what we did, or when this, something happened. So those real stories from people about how we're all navigating it, how we're all figuring it out, success stories, amenities they're adding, amenities that are low cost, high cost, wherever it is, how they're elevating that glamping experience and getting people onboarded to the whole setting once you're here, because it is different. A lot of people are first time glampers, never have camped when they show up here, and so we have to really do a lot of education and a little bit of hand holding in the best way possible to get them comfortable and enjoying this experience fully.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the networking is the biggest piece of the whole thing, right? Like,
Mhm.
I kind of, even as a vendor, I'll go and exhibit at the trade show, and I'll be like, all right, well, I just got to stand here at this booth for a few hours, and then I can go to the bar and do the real business, uh, right? But the networking for the owners and operators too, just that connecting with people. You're right, you can't replace it, and that's one of the, I think, the easy criticisms that I would make of the glamping show. And I don't know if I put this in my survey, but it's been all the years. You've been to multiple ones, Scott,
Mhm.
where like they have good education, they have a good vendor setup and a turnout, they have good organization, the conference is well run, et cetera, but they don't really do anything other than the American glamping shows, Taco Tuesday, which is great, and they have a DJ on this, but you can't really talk there, right? It's very loud. Outside of that, like, there's really no networking, and I feel like the conferences, and this goes to Ojai too, like, Ojai
Mhm.
doesn't really facilitate networking either. They happen to be in a hotel that usually has a nice bar where everybody just congregates and it happens organically, which is great. But, like, yeah, that networking needs more of an emphasis, I think, and I don't know if it's breakout sessions, if it's one-on-one, if it's speed dating, if it's
Yeah.
just, there's so many different takeaways that you could do when you
Mhm.
hear from other owners and operators. I
Yeah,
don't
And
and
miss all
that's
that.
what we do so much online is through our social feeds. It's just networking. It's just laughing about things that happen. We're exchanging messages back and forth with these other operators, just like, wow, oh neat. This is so cool you did this. And that feels so rich to us, and we get ideas. And we also feel like we're part of a community of people that are like, oh, similar experiences. So it's really neat.
I wanna put
and
together a glamping escape room, Scott, where you have to, like, go in as a newbie operator, and you have to talk to all the people who have owned glamping resorts forever, and you have to figure out how to build the perfect glamping resort to escape. That would
I
be
like it.
interesting. Go
Yeah.
ahead, you were gonna say
And
something probably more profound
no,
than that.
no, I was just going to say though that I feel like one of the things that makes our industry, and when I say our industry, just the greater outdoor hospitality industry as it stands today, so unique and special is that it's filled with mom and pops. We'll call them, or independent operators and owners, where we, I include myself in that as an operator, but as an industry, we have to really understand that we rely on each other. There's this networking piece of and troubleshooting component, and just um, being there for each other for support. Even if it's just to hear somebody vent about something that happened, I think is so important. And I look at Mark Kep's Facebook group. I don't know, Stephanie, if you're a part of that, but there's I don't know, maybe several thousand
There's
members
at
in
least
that.
4, somewhere between 4 and 5.
Yeah. And I think that's why it's one of the reasons it's so successful. I mean, it's a well-run group, but it's I think it's successful because we all see that there's not a playbook. Outdoor hospitality is not cookie cutter. It is all so different and so unique in its very nature. And I think the ability for us to connect together and share what's worked and hasn't worked is even more profound and necessary in our industry than it would be in, say, traditional hotel, when everything is maybe a bit more uniformed, and standardized than what we have.
Yeah. I mean, case in point, the number of people that are ask me, "Oh, is there a front desk or a check-in desk?" And I'm like, It's me. I am the desk.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. So how does that work? Do you guys with your property, do you have so are you there to greet guests? Is it mostly self check-in and self service? I'd love to learn a little bit more about your property specifically.
Sure. Yeah. That's a great question. And actually, I think our take on it is unique. Potentially, you guys might know better if it's unique. Um, as a background, I come from about 10 years as a public school teacher. And so I come from an education mindset, and I come from very much so wanting to ensure by the way I greet people, talk to people, that they're feeling comfortable, welcome, and really at home. So generally speaking, I'd say 99% of our guests, unless they're arriving past 9:30 p.m., I personally check them in. So I meet them at their tents or point them that way. I give them a tour of their tent. I explain our solar power, how to work the heaters. It's cold now. It's cooler right now. And then we usually walk over together to our guest lodge, and I show them all the things in there and point out like the marshmallows and there's hand towels here and do all that good stuff. And I would say that's actually one amenity that we really, really pride ourselves on is that personalized one-on-one support. If you look on like booking.com on our reviews, because we get a lot of international travelers through that, it's just like the warm welcome, the warm welcome, the warm welcome. I felt at home. She explained everything over and over and over. And then once they understand, once people feel comfortable and they understand, they can reach out to me. They know I live on property. They're just like, I can relax and I'm okay. And I know where everything is now. And I feel okay asking a question. So I know a lot of glamping properties are certainly going to be more hands off, and that is absolutely cost effective and a wonderful way to run a property. But it's something that we've done since the beginning is that personalized welcome and being a general presence on the property. You know, the guests see me like jumping around, you know, cleaning the lodge during the daytime if they're still on property, staying over, stuff like that. So I'm definitely part of that experience they're having.
I want to do a study with Scott Barr on this in 2026 because we're going to bring back our MC reports that we were doing. We just kind of took a hiatus. We were both too busy this year. It would be really interesting to do a study and see if there's a floor in, like, if someone does what Stephanie does at her property and greets people and explains everything, is there a floor for like you get a base minimum review? Like, I can't imagine anybody reviewing less than 3.5 stars if they've met the owner, the GM, they've walked them through the property. Like, you'd have to be a really like just irritable person, right?
Yeah, you would think, or yeah, that you would hope that the person welcoming them truly wants to be there
Well,
as
that's
well.
true. I mean, I guess that could happen, right? But assuming it's a good
But
experience.
yeah. Well, and I think that when we think about hospitality and the guest experience, you know, I think that that is one of the elements that can be the hardest thing to scale, you know, to really understand how to nail down is that warm touch and to be able to welcome them in, because Stephanie, you know, you being able to do that, you are truly welcoming them to your home.
Yeah, I am.
And you know, and in every way, right? Like literally. And I think that that's really impactful. And I think as properties get into, say, like 100+ site counts, it can be very difficult to do that, to maintain profitability. But I think and I use air quotes there because a lot of people don't look at the hospitality element as an amenity, as Stephanie said. Like, it is an amenity. It does cost money. It costs money to maintain through payroll and making sure you're supporting great people, but it's still important.
What if this changes in the future though, right? Like, so I know I'm like the technology geek, right? Advocate for AI, robotics, everything else. What if robots can do all the things except for the hospitality piece, and that allows a 100 site, 200 site, 400 site park to have 4 or 5 camp hosts, and that makes the experience better for all the guests?
I mean, to the extent that we don't, I mean, if we can standardize some things and offload things like, you know, waiting for those housekeeping robots to roll in, I think
It's going to be a couple
absolutely.
years. It's going to come fast, Scott.
Well, I know you'll tell me
Robot
about
has
it.
to make sure they see the mouth tape somebody stuck to the lamp and left it, because I feel like
true.
the robot's gonna miss that. Sorry.
It'll be
I'm
interesting
only
to
saying
find
that
out. I
from
want to run a
experience.
test
You're
on
like,
it and
whoa.
see. I'm going to use that exact example on the first robot I give.
I like it.
But yeah, like I think that's important, right? The hospitality piece is important. You're right, Scott. It gets to a point where it scales. Like that's what I'm hopeful though, that like there was a great speaker and he was on our show the week before the glamping show, Ari. I'm too old and I can't remember his last name. But he works for Fat Cat AI. He gave a great session at the glamping show that I was one of two that I was actually able to catch. But he owns a really nice property, I think, in northern Vermont with his wife, glamping off grid, and he's just probably either equal to me or maybe even a little above me with the things that he is talking about. Not even talking about. Sorry, has executed and automated his property. And he was telling cool stories about like he was experimenting with robot dogs delivering food and didn't realize that children were afraid of robot dogs, and just the things that he's experimented with and that have tried and failed. And it's just really interesting to hear his story. But the undercurrent to it all is his wife balances him and says like, no, that the guests can never see the technology. They can't feel it. They can't touch it. It just has to be there to personalize their stay and make their outdoors experience better without like tech everywhere. And I think that's the key to a really successful where I imagine it going with like these multiple camp hosts, right? Is automate what we can so that people can truly spend time making the guest experience better. I don't think you should ever replace that camp host.
Yeah.
I agreed wholeheartedly. And I like what you said about how, Ari's wife kind of balances him out with like, people don't want to see it. They don't like part of why they come to an off-grid experience at Base Camp 37, I'm sure, is to get away from it, right? Like to get away from the tech and the ability to disconnect and reconnect with themselves. And I think that the ability for us as operators and owners to improve margins and allow us to invest in people and that experience of welcoming them in, the more that we can do that and implement AI and tech behind the scenes as much as we can, I think I think that's the ultimate goal in my view.
Yeah, I mean, imagine like an AI that just researches the people who are staying with you on social media beforehand, or asks them questions in a quiz, and then you have their favorite snack or their favorite wine or whatever waiting in the room. The technology is not in their face, but the technology made their stay that much better.
Right. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's where it's at. That's the magic.
Yeah. That's what I mean. I'm trying to build it over here as fast as I can. I got to stop doing a podcast every hour and then go to the glamping show. But that stuff really interests me, though. Is pushing into that undercurrent of stuff. Maybe not the robot dogs so much, but we'll see.
I won't replace my dog with that.
I asked Ari that question after the thing. I was like, he was on our podcast too, that from the glamping show. I said the key takeaway I have from that is like the robot dogs are only at the adult only resorts, and he laughed. So, but yeah, it's going to be a fun. Like I think there's going to be a place for tech centric resorts that are themed that way, but mostly like stay out of the way. So what problem were you trying to solve, Stephanie, when you opened your resort there in the area in the beginning?
I mean, we're in the desert. It's a little rough out here sometimes. Things sort of berate us. And so the kind of revolving problem that we often face is that things are really consumable out here, things that you don't think are consumable. The tents themselves, they have about a 2-year lifespan just because they're getting whipped around in the desert sun, desert sand. We have a little saying, the desert's up. I won't say it, but we've had issues with our well going out. The pump is broken when we were on well water, and then we're like hauling in water. So a lot of things are just consumable that you do not realize are consumable as the wear and the tear and the tread continues on. And so I think that's one of the biggest problems that we're always trying to solve, is how to stay on top of all that and keep our margins up and make sure that we're just not constantly spending a bunch of money on new canvas, new chairs, because things just break out here. It's just the way it is out here. So I think that's one of the biggest things. So Amy started the property 9 years ago. This is our 9th year. I met her that first year. So I came in right at the beginning.
You count as a founder then.
And then I showed up like May 20th in her world and was like, hi. So I missed a lot of that like setup of what she was doing. This property down here, it's we're on basically surrounded by public land, all ag land, a lot of cows, a lot of weeds, a lot of just stuff and junk. So cleaning the property and just general overall maintenance. Again, we're on a dirt road, 8 miles outside of Kanab, Utah. And so life out here is just rural. The cows sometimes are here and we have to shoo them off and hope they didn't poop a bunch. But just these everyday things of wear and tear and just life rurally off grid is our real reality of what we're trying to solve.
But that adds to the charm, right?
Oh, it absolutely does add to the charm. And honestly, our guests, when the cows are around, they sort of love it. And I'm just, I could do without it. But our guests find it charming and interesting, and they think it's fun. The cows are only here for like a week in the springtime, which is good.
I'm sure you found it charming and fun like the first year, but then it quickly faded.
As you like yourself are like becoming all of a sudden the cowboy with your dog, like running the cows off. You're like, what am I doing?
Yeah, that's right. This
Are
is
they
not your job
wild
description.
cows, like wild horses, or?
No, the ranchers move the cows onto not onto our property, but neighboring properties.
Okay.
They rotate cattle on their public land leases. And so once the cows are released in an area where they're leased to be, the cows move about freely. We're a fence out state in Utah, which is pretty common in the West. And so if you want the cows to stay out, you have to fence them out. We have most of the border, our property border, it's 10 acres fenced, but like where you drive in is not fenced. There's a big wash that they can get up into and kind of get under the fence. So there are access points into the property, and by golly, they find them.
It's fascinating to me. Like I keep learning this as I travel and I do wildlife tours and things like that, how smart some of these animals actually are.
Yeah.
It really is fascinating to me. Like we were in I came back from Ireland a few weeks ago and we had gone on a couple roads like up in the mountains, and there was like literally I think 40 or 50 sheep on the road. And I don't know where the stereotype came from. I thought it in my head, but I don't remember ever learning it that sheep are dumb. But we actually ChatGPT'd it when it came down from the mountain. They're like, no, sheep are really smart. They don't want to move. They're lazy. Right. And so, but it was talking about how sheep are really smart and intelligent and go with the herd and watch out for each other. And it's fascinating to see. Like we were up in Churchill, Manitoba, and learned that the polar bears would figure out how to go fishing off a rock when the tide came in and out to grab beluga whales. And then the polar bear would learn how to do it, and he would teach the other polar bears how to do it. So it's just fascinating to see how smart some of those animals are, I think, anyway.
I could tell you, I could write a novel on mice in the desert. It's just about being smarter than them out here. It's like, of course there's mice out here. Of course they're running around everywhere. But it's like, oh, maybe like, let's not leave the chip bag open on the floor of your tent. Got to be smarter than the mice. They are smart and they are around. But we try to keep them out.
Do you want to talk about Marriott? Go ahead, Scott. Go.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say one thing about that. I think, managing the guest experience with that can be, a bit of a challenge. Making sure I compare it to properties that have like a lot of bears and you're in bear country, right? Like, giving them all the things they can't do, like don't leave your food out, can be a little intimidating as a guest, especially if you're not like used to it. And I know bears are different than mice, but it's still a problem. Like no one likes to see a mouse in there. Yeah. Well, they don't like to see it.
I take a little bit of a perspective of not saying don't do X, Y, and Z. I take a perspective of saying you're going to hear mouse. The mice are outside. They're totally fine outside. Ideally, we don't want them in your tent. So, to not have them in your tent, I'll just put all your trash inside or take it to our dumpster. Yeah. And so it's how we also frame it. Cause then it's like, oh, I don't want the mice inside. And it's then when they hear the mouse or they hear the coyote outside, they're like, good. It's outside. Yeah. Perfect. So it's just managing expectations with that. If you tell them they will hear mice and then they hear mice, checks out. I heard him out. Stephanie said I would.
Yes.
Yeah, it's interesting you talk about, because it is how you frame it, right? Everything is how you frame it. And so and I'm going to stereotypically say campgrounds because I traveled all around in 2013, 14, building my business, videotaping campgrounds. But like Like it was always the do not do this, do not do this, do not do this, do not do this, do not do this. It was a list of 20, and we would come across the owners who would literally stand there at the counter and read every single one of the people. Are you sure you got this? Did you? But if you just reframe that a little bit and say something like, hey, we do have friendly mice that run around the property. They're usually not in your tent, but they love potato chips. If you want to, if you want to see a mouse, please feel free to leave your potato chip thing on the floor. If not, then like, but just don't leave potato chips on the floor is different than like, if you want to see a mouse, leave your potato chips on the floor.
Yep. Yeah.
And I think speaking just from the experience that I have in talking and working with individual owners and operators, I feel like a lot of people, not to generalize or stereotype, but they start off with the best of intentions. And then it's like, hey, this happened and this has happened 5 times and I'm tired. I'm really like, I worked all day. I'm burned out. And like, so the list just starts to grow of like grievances. And people don't often understand how it comes across. And they'll take the position that, it's my park, you'll stay my way. And that's not real. I mean, that's fine. It is your park and you can have people stay your way, but it's not effective. So I think making sure people, operators and owners can give themselves enough space to disconnect a little bit and or bring somebody in to help operate for them or be a great general manager for them, to allow them to maybe distance themselves a bit from the things that which I get, like, right, like you've done it for 8 years or 9 years.
It's human nature. Like it's human nature to react that way, right? Like we've talked about years ago when I would only do review responses for parks, we would give them away books and we would look at quotes and we would look at studies that say like when you get a negative review, your mood goes down and it stays down for like a whole day. And then it comes back up to normal. But if you get a positive review, your mood spikes, then it goes right back down like a couple hours later. I'm not doing a good job drawing here, but like, so, it's human psychology, right? And so those negative things do pile up. Like, I think it's really interesting because it's not just campground owners. It's me too. In my business, it's probably you too, Scott, and your business with things that we deal with that we're like frustrated and we want to do things differently. And we don't understand how other people perceive what we're doing, good, bad, middle of the road, whatever. I think it's really interesting, and I'm not going to switch the conversation to this, but the way I use AI is I have prompted my AI and said, I want you to always use the Socratic method with me. I want you to think from first principles, and whatever question I ask you, if it is opinion-based and not fact-based, I want you to always give me the other side of the argument. And that has really helped me kind of understand and see through other people's lenses. And so that's one of the good things I think that AI has brought to the world, perhaps if you use it right.
Totally.
Sorry about that, guys. The UPS guy is here and the dog is barking. Just real life out here.
Oh, that's totally fine. I
understand.
Do we want to talk about Marriott a little bit? Like,
sure.
I'm curious to hear your thoughts first, Scott.
Yeah. Well, do we want to, for listeners that may not know, do you want to?
Stephanie, do you know?
Yeah.
No, I'm not sure what you're talking about.
All right. Well, now Stephanie's going to know. She's our audience of one. Nobody else watches the show, Stephanie, just so you know. Go ahead.
Well, as I understand it, Marriott announced maybe last week or on October 1st, I guess that was last week, that
they are. While you talk.
Okay, great, thank you. They have launched a franchise or a platform opportunity called Outdoor Collection by Marriott Bonvoy. None of this should be a surprise given their acquisition of Postcard Cabins last winter and their long-term partnership with Trailborn Hotels. But as I understand it, the ability to have a franchise or be a part of the Marriott world with a franchise for outdoor hospitality properties, specifically those that have lodging units, not at this time RV. It's my understanding, but it's geared more around glamping properties specifically, that want to take advantage of that franchise. And really, of course, in doing so, one of the many benefits I'm sure is that you are able to participate in the audience that they can bring to your property through the Bonvoy platform, and have those folks be able to earn and redeem rewards while staying with you as well. It's a huge, to me, it's a very high level. It's very, and I mean that by it's more enterprise level at this point. I think it's going to be interesting to see how smaller properties fit into that, what revenue minimums Marriott will require, or key count minimums, to make it worthwhile for them, and how those, like the length of the franchise agreements and that sort of thing. I think there's still a lot to get figured out personally, but I think it was an inevitable move, and I'm here for it.
Yeah, my ChatGPT is thinking forever and ever and ever. So curious, well, before I give this answer, like Stephanie, what are your thoughts on the initial?
Well, I'm just looking at it right now. Initially, it reminds me of like when REI went in and did REI Experiences, which is now closed. And so kind of that's what dinged off in my head, is just that kind of parallel there. A big company getting into just a different market, different niche, and maybe it'll work and maybe it won't. REI, I know, closed what, last year, the year before.
Yeah,
Closed
that was
something.
sad. REI Experiences was pretty good experience. Well, whatever, using experience is too much. But yeah, I heard great things. But they didn't own resorts, did they? They just took people on hiking trips and
It was just hiking, and
rafting.
they did close everything, so that's no longer in operation. I think
Yeah.
last year they stopped doing them all, and my other world that I work in is expeditions and
Okay.
big mountain expeditions though, but kind of cued into that outdoor world of expeditions, trips, hiking trips, all that. So, but I mean, generally speaking, I try to have the mindset that more people that are doing glamping, people that are coming to the table, it's better for us overall. Because then
Raises the
it's
profile.
more approachable for people. If Marriott
Mhm.
starts doing this and it's great, it just elevates the whole glamping community, holds us to a great standard, which is awesome. And then we also continue to hold them to a great standard by having our independent skill sets and kind of mindset out here. We're setting the tone, we're setting the bar for people like them, even. So, I really try to look at it as not competition, as we are just stronger together when more people learn about glamping and feel comfortable with trying it because it is unique.
Yeah, I think I tend to agree with that sentiment. Let me read what ChatGPT brought back to me. So it's Marriott's new Nature First Collection brand that lets you earn and use Bonvoy points at cabins and boutique outdoor hotels. So this is interesting to me. I saw a few places that it's not just glamping. It's also like they're taking some of their resorts that are more nature focused and putting them in
Yeah.
this collection too. So that'll be like we've continued to not fight, but gently disagree over what glamping is forever, right? So I think that's about to go through maybe another definition here
Yeah,
that Marriott will drive.
I'm looking at it and there's like the surfing one that's definitely like a boutique hotel. It's in North
Mhm.
Carolina or something like that.
But I think those are outdoor hospitality.
Yeah, yeah.
I really do. We've talked about covering those in Modern Campground before. I
Mhm.
think something that really connects you to nature primarily, not just has a yard outside or access to a beach, right? But something that is truly nature focused. There's some really good resorts in Costa Rica that I would call glamping. And I've never
Absolutely.
been to Costa Rica. I've just looked at the pictures. One day I'll make enough money to go, but um, so
Well, I think it'll be interesting to consider and watch the evolution of the brand, because when I saw some of, like, I believe I saw, I can't remember exactly which brand it is, but it's a well-known brand. For some reason, the Four Seasons kind of keeps coming out to me, but I'm treading into waters that I'm not completely familiar with at
it's
this
totally fine.
point.
I do that every week, Scott. Feel comfortable.
But it was a mountainside, just ski in, ski out hotel.
Okay.
Like, maybe that could be like, yes, okay, it is action, it is outdoor oriented, because you are attracting people that want the ski in, ski out capabilities. But as the brand grows, is that truly the focus? And or is that maybe a way to have additional offerings at this point, while they're working on bringing in more of the postcard cabin type, truly, those glamping properties that don't share walls, that are truly, maybe defined by glamping in that way. But either way, it's still like the point is to they're recognizing, I think, the strength of this space, the guests desiring to disconnect a bit and have something that's more unique and more memorable than just another hotel room. And in many ways, I would say that yes, like Field Station by Auto Camp or Trailborn, those are awesome. It's an awesome concept, and I'd love to stay in them. But at the same time, it is a different experience than, say, Base Camp 37. It is completely different, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's themed. It has it has the gear shop and that sort of thing that you can utilize, which, so you are going to, say, Moab, and you do want to ride bikes, and you want to be able to bring it back and fix up your bike or whatever it is. That's great. But at the same time, it's different than being able to bike directly from your glamping tent, where Base Camp 37 is.
Yeah. No, 100%. That makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's the difference, right? So like I keep just going back to Ireland because it's fresh in my mind, but we stayed at a great place called Finlock up there, which was a glamping resort on a lake. And I sent a couple people the email they sent me when they arrived, and it was like the high touch point. Like, here's an online portal you can go to. Do you want firewood? Do you want wine? We can have this in advance to your site? And like, it was very easy to do that in advance. But when you got there, they had like really nice bubble tents, but they seem to have customized them. And maybe I just haven't been in a bubble tent in a long time, but like most bubble tents have the airlock there, don't they, Scott? Like to keep the bubble tent afloat?
I'm not too familiar with with that structure. Yeah.
Anyway, so like it was but they had nice bubble tents along the river, whatever. They had some cabins, but it was a big, huge resort. And so you could walk out of the back of your door and you were secluded. Like there was a row of them there, but everybody had trees between them. You couldn't tell anybody was nearby you, et cetera, et cetera. But then like it was a whole huge property where you could go down to a lake and you could have kayaks and paddleboard rentals. They had a full chef-driven like 5-star restaurant that was like that. I think is the big thing that people will come for, right? Is the food. But they had a bunch of activities, and they had saunas, and they had spas, and so it was just a big, huge property that like we didn't get to take advantage of a lot of it. But that whole thing you're talking about I'm at my resort, but now I can bike or go wherever I want to go without leaving the property is what really is the difference maker versus just the accommodation, I think.
I feel like here in Kanab, it is a massive tourist destination here. Maybe you've never heard of it. It is a small little town, but it's like a Springdale. It's like a Moab, things like that. We're a gateway town to all these parks. And I think more and more what we are seeing, because we really had a bust with Airbnbs, a boom with Airbnbs, more glamping places coming up, things like that. And we do have a lot of hotels as well. A lot of the Airbnbs are actually shutting down, the single family home Airbnbs that aren't offering this type of experience. A number of my friends do own really nice Airbnbs here. We, of course, have the glamping property, and folks are really looking for that experience, like you keep saying. And the experience is sitting outside watching the stars, roasting a marshmallow, even as simple as that. The experience is sleeping in the tent. It being a really curated, beautiful space. And I think more and more, especially in these towns that are touristy and bringing in people for a certain reason, people are here to hike. They're here to go to Antelope Canyon. They're here to go to Horseshoe Bend. They're here to go to Zion. And so they want to carry that as much as they can into their accommodations, or they're just like, hotels chill. This is cool. It's easy. We're not just going straight to the hotel. And that's fine too.
Yeah. And your property works like, how many amenities do you have, or is it just the tents?
I don't know if I could, we have a number of amenities, and I mean, a lot of it is little things. Like we provide the marshmallows and s'mores. We have like little snacks for people that are already out. We of course provide all the propane and all the wood. You don't have to pay for any of your wood. We're in a fire ban, so we're on propane fire pits right now. But all of that is provided. So the only thing they really have to bring is just food to cook themselves. So we don't have like on-site food facilities, but we have 2 beautiful state-of-the-art kitchens that they can cook in, fully stocked with like olive oil, salt, peppers, condiments in the door already for them.
But that works for you, I think, right? Given your location and that everybody's coming to you to leave you, if that makes sense, to go to Zion, to go to Bryce, to go to Canyon, whatever, right?
And that's part of the name. The idea is that it's your base camp because you're an hour from Zion, you're an hour and a half from Grand Canyon, an hour and a half from Bryce, an hour from Antelope Canyon. So it's the idea is that's, we're in the middle and you come here in the evening to relax and kick back. It's like our tagline. Oh, I'm blanking it. It's because a great day of fun deserves an equally awesome evening, because we know what you're doing all day. And that's part of our amenities also, is they get me, who's sitting here saying, get into Zion at this time, do this trail. You didn't get an Angel's Landing permit, go to Scout Lookout. This is actually my favorite vista. No one will be there. Here's a GPS pin. Oh, you want to go to White Pocket? Great. It's free to go. Here's how you get there. Like, oh, you want to do a tour? These are our friends that do canyoneering tours. Here's a discount. And so part of it is my love for maps and my love for the region, and collectively, that we can sit down and actually have real conversations with these people before or during their trip and tell them, oh, you want to do this? Oh, you want to hike 1 mile? That's it all day today? Cool. Go to these 3 spots, because we know that it's going to be low hiking and big views, big reward. So yeah.
But the naming is important, like you talk about, right? Like I feel like sometimes, and maybe Scott, you feel the same way. I don't know if you want to, this is dangerous territory wading into this. I feel like the United States and Canada tend to overcomplicate naming sometimes. Like I went over to Ireland, and the hotels that don't have places to eat, they're just called self-catering.
Oh.
Like in the name of everything, it's like, it's a self-catering hotel. It's the name of the hotel. And I'm like, that's really easy. Why did we lose that when we came over from English to English? I'm not sure, but yeah, that stuff is that just, and that reduces the need to answer so many questions too, and do extra customer service, and sets expectations for people and stuff like that. So it does say in ChatGPT that Marriott is not franchising yet, at least not publicly. It launched with postcard cabins in Trailborn. There's no outdoor collection page yet on their owner development site. So I'm just reading a few more things, but
I think that's coming, and because as I think about it, and I wish I know Zach Stoltenberg was at the lodging conference this week, and I wish he was on here to share what he was learning firsthand. But they had a number of vendors there, cabin manufacturers specifically,
Creek, Zip Cabins,
yep, Noken, those that are now preferred or maybe approved, if you want to classify it as that, vendors with Marriott for the outdoor collection, to provide units that I'm assuming meet levels, franchise standard levels. And I think that for me, when I think like practically about the implementation of this, the mass implementation of this in our industry, knowing how fragmented and how different every property is, and how fragmented our industry is as a whole, and the size of a lot of glamping operators specifically, many glamping operations are in the 10 to 20 key count and smaller. And knowing revenue minimums, or what I understand of some revenue minimums and key counts,
it's 70 key counts. They won't franchise anything less than 70. Is what I understood.
Yeah,
years and years ago. It might have changed.
Yeah. Well, they have to change it, right? To truly get into this space. And I think that's what I keep coming back to, is I am here for it, because I do think it does raise the profile, Brian, as you said, and Stephanie, you alluded to also, that it does open us up to a larger audience, and many people are wanting to shop and stay with points or earn points. That's very powerful. And I think we have the ability to provide maybe even greater experiences than they might have at a branded hotel by nature of what we do. But how we can, how they get into our space, and how they actually can implement it at scale, I'm really excited to watch and be a part of. I know Best Western Hotels is also going after the same segment. They're maybe a bit later than Outdoor Collection in terms of scale, but they are also trying to pursue franchise opportunities, that I know of for sure. So, and of course, Hyatt with I believe with their acquisition of Under Canvas, our partnership with Under Canvas. So these things are happening, but how they happen with the vast majority of operations in the space is to be determined.
I'll play devil's advocate for a second and say, like, what if it doesn't raise the profile of the industry? Now, hear me out, right? Because
Sure.
Marriott is not advertising this as glamping anywhere that I've seen. They're not using that word. Have you seen it anywhere, Scott?
I
The word
thought I
glamping?
saw glamping, but I could be mistaken.
I've seen outdoor collection. I've seen outdoor hospitality. I've seen Bonvoy Outdoors. I haven't seen glamping tied to the Marriott announcement yet.
Maybe cabins. Yeah,
Cabins I have, because
cabins. Yeah,
postcard cabins, right?
yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see, like, if as people begin to stay at these Marriott resorts, redeem their points, experience the postcard cabins and all that stuff, do they actually connect that to glamping if they have no other experience with it? Or do they connect that to, I've never had something before, this is cabin rentals, or this is Marriott, or this is, and so it'll be interesting to see how much that translates into the overall excitement for the glamping industry as a whole.
Yeah, I think that's a really valid point, Brian. And I'm on their site now. They have stays and outdoor destinations kind of on their homepage. It says pursue the activities you love at over 450 properties around the world, and they have different segments. One of which is hike and clamp.
Mhm.
Um,
Okay.
and then you can drill into the states. But my point is, I feel like, or internationally too, like U.S., Canada, Asia Pacific, Caribbean, Europe, and Middle East and Africa. So with 450 properties around the world, they're clearly taking properties that are already in the Marriott ecosystem and classifying some of those as, things you can do if you are outdoor focused, which is great, right? Like connect people to the outdoors. That's one of the missions,
Hmm?
but it's different than I think what we're talking about here with truly no shared walls and that true
Right.
glamp experience.
And so then, but then does that serve to also raise expectations on
Right.
operators like Stephanie now, who are, Marriott, I had hot water and I had this and I had that and I had air conditioning and I had luxury bedding and I had, right? And I think there's still going to be lots of people who will go to all different types of experiences.
Mhm.
But it'll be interesting to just see. I don't think that impact is all going to be positive.
Yeah. No, definitely. I agree. There are some glamping places that are super rustic. We are proud. Everything you just listed there was like check, check, check. No AC, but we do have AC in the guest lodge. And we run it during the daylight when this power is free. But we do try to really keep those amenities high and not,
Yeah.
our tents don't have private bathrooms. You have to go to the shared space for that. So that's one thing that is, different and sets us apart from a lot of the other operators, but it also keeps our margins low. It keeps our price more affordable, which is actually super intentional on our side. But I absolutely get what you're saying. I mean, the hot water, having luxury linens, just nice pillows, nice feeling things goes a long way. And I've stayed at some glamping properties where they were a little bit lower and you like brought your bedding and there was like mouse poop all over when I walked in. I was like,
Yeah.
oh,
Well,
what are
and
we
that's the danger, right? That's the
Mhm.
danger is like is I think there already is a split between like even luxury camping and non-luxury camping, right? And
doing?
there's often, other than, like, I guess you could point to maybe KOA Holiday being in the middle, but there really isn't a
Sure.
clear definition of what in the middle is in the camping industry, especially now after COVID when we've had this boom and like everybody's building these huge luxury resorts.
Mhm.
Um,
And
there's
I think that's becoming more necessary from the guest expectation perspective, and also on the other side of it, from a data aggregation and analysis perspective too, for us to really start to understand classifications of properties and performance metrics and that sort of thing, based on that. And I know there are some really smart folks in the industry working on that. But I think one point I wanted to mention too with this is when we think about outdoor hospitality and those properties that maybe have higher key counts and when we say key counts, meaning specific like lodging units,
Mhm.
um, that are able to perhaps qualify with key count and revenue minimums for something like an outdoor collection. A lot of them are going to have RV sites as well. A lot
Yeah.
of institutional players in our space are combo properties. And how does that work? We've and we actually we have asked the question of Marriott, and the answer right now is we're figuring it out. it's not something that fits today. We're figuring it out, but it is something that does need to be figured out, in my opinion, for greater adoption. But
I
then it
think it's
just
a
blurs
different
the lines
audience.
even more. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a different audience. I think the people who are willing to go glamping at a campground or an RV park, there's nothing wrong with that. It's great properties, great experiences. A lot of operators are doing it well, but I think that's a totally different audience than the people who would
Yeah.
stay with Stephanie or would stay with Marriott.
That's right. It is. Well, it is definitely a different than what Stephanie offers. But again, what kind of at what enterprise level are they setting to participate in the program, and who are those people? That's kind of what I keep coming back to.
Yeah, I mean, I think as they expand, if they expand the brand, like as you see the different types of hotels and brands that Marriott has now, they've obviously acquired Starwood and a few other places years ago, right? So they're up to like 22 or 24 brands or something now. And so there's different Marriott brands for everything different. I think eventually there might be a different brand if they end up taking down that path for the places with RVs. There almost has to be, because I think if you mix those two, then the guest gets really confused. And as we just talked about, it's a different kind of guest, right? We've had the RV industry on the show multiple times, and I've told the RV industry, like, the RV industry stands for recreational vehicle. You know that, right? Like, the amount of things that you could do with that in the future and define as a recreational vehicle is like, I don't know. I don't know that RVs is the number one future of our industry.
Yeah.
I can't tell you that with a straight face, Scott. I can't.
Well, you see
It's an
that
important piece of it, to be clear. But is it the number one driver of what it has been for the last 60 years going forward?
Well,
I'm
just
not
look at
sold.
look at the proliferation of like camper vans, right? Like that. I know that is an RV, but is it, right? Like,
I don't know. For what I just said that came out of my mouth, I don't consider camper vans part of that.
yeah,
I'm talking about
yeah,
the stuff made in Elkhart.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It's an interesting topic. Like, and we tread careful, thin. Like, we don't want to upset anybody, right? There's nothing wrong with the RV industry, to be clear. It's an interesting dynamic as we head toward everything's more expensive. People can't even afford their first house. I think I read a report the other day that, like, even in Canada, like in British Columbia, like 30 to 40% of people have made trade-offs on ways they can afford the same food they have and have cut different things. And like, we're just expecting these people to go out and buy RVs. That's like going camping is a hard sell when you can't afford food.
Let alone putting gas in that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that RVs are bad or you shouldn't want to buy one. I just think the value prop is changing, maybe temporarily. Maybe it'll come back.
And yeah, I think it's like accessibility and making sure that as an industry, the greater outdoor hospitality industry remains accessible, and you can't just be accessible through the purchase and utilization of an RV. I think, and that's where RV share can come into play, and that's like ways to do it, but still,
for sure.
to your point. Yeah.
That's the ultimate goal, is bringing people close to nature and the outdoors. And if that happens through places like Stephanie's, places like you run, Scott, for Horizon, whether that happens through Marriott Bonvoy, whether that happens through straight RV parks, like that's the idea. Let's just get people closer and connected to nature, I think. So any final thoughts, Scott, on our discussion? We didn't get to sort two, but we'll get to another episode.
No, I would just say that, there is a lot of buzz that I think I try to come back to the operator and, just keep focused on, you might be hearing this news and wondering what that really means. And I think just continuing to stay focused on your guest and providing those memorable experiences in ways that, like, Stephanie is able to do so with her guests, and making sure that we're keeping that human element front and center with that connection and welcome, and being able to read your guests, understand what they need to improve their day and stay, I think is really where the magic is, and what we can continue to control.
Yeah, I mean, don't be afraid of experiences. As Stephanie said, there's 1 out of 220 million different experiences you can create at your park.
Yeah.
I think people are scared about experience because, like, in the beginning, early days of the glamping industry in the United States, there wasn't a lot of experience outside of under canvas and stuff like that. And then you had more operators come in and they built more things. But I think there's a lot of people that a lot of people are talking to in networking events or things like that have just put up glamping tents or cabins side by side, and they were successful. But when there's so many of those, you become the same as everybody else. It's no longer an experience like it was in the beginning. And so they look at it like they hear the word experience, and they're like, oh, I got to put a water park, I got to put a swimming pool, I got to do this or do that. And it doesn't require millions of dollars in capital. It just requires, who's my guest? Let me think about what they want. Let me research a little bit, put myself in their shoes and create something that they will remember.
Yeah,
and that's really what an experience is. Stephanie, final thoughts?
Yeah. My final thought's really a personal thought. I think the glamping industry is so uniquely positioned. You said it a few times. We create these experiences, we create these memories in the outdoors. And based on what I've seen, when people have these positive experiences in the outdoors and start to feel a connection and carry a memory of the outdoors, they inherently start to take care of the outdoors, care about the outdoors, follow the outdoors, care what's happening out there in the world with our parks, with our public lands, not state lands, all of it. And I think we're actually uniquely positioned to help bring in more people to care about all these beautiful places, these cliffs behind me. And that's for me is just personally so inspiring. It's just watching people get really excited about being outside and making that memory and experiencing something new for the first time. And it's an absolute honor to share that with our guests. It's an absolute honor when I watch somebody walk in terrified and leave with a hug to me, being like, that was amazing. I know that I flipped their opinion of the outdoors and what it means to be outdoorsy, which is super cool. So that's what I love about it. And I commend everyone out there that's doing glamping world and bringing people onto properties, and whether it's corporate under canvas, whether it's our small business, I think it's all awesome.
And where can they learn more about Basecamp 37?
Oh, yeah. Our website is basecamp37.com. So basecamp37.com. That's easy. And then we're also on Instagram, Facebook. You can find us there. We have a YouTube page with a ton of really beautiful time lapses. Amy's husband is a producer for TV, and so he's really good with his camera, and a lot of our gorgeous shots come from him. So yeah. But basecamp37.com. Find us there.
And Scott, where can they learn more about Horizon if they need third-party management or all the other new services you offer? We should talk about those at some point, because I think those are a good, not specifically about you, but the idea behind helping different operators, right?
Well, thank you. Yeah, absolutely. You can learn more about us at horizonoutdoors.com or email me, scott@horizonoutdoors.com, and would be happy to get connected. But Stephanie, really well said. We always try to take the approach that we can better the world by providing really great experiences that those people will then take back into their communities. And you doing the same, I think, for the outdoors and nature itself is commendable. So thank you so much for everything that you do for the industry too.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Scott, are you going to be at Ojai?
Yes, we'll be there.
You have to be at the show. You have to be on the show at Ojai. I'm actually going to hire a professional camera crew so that I don't screw up the show. So I'm going to hire one of those. We'll see how it goes. So save your best thoughts for that. Thank you guys for joining us for another episode of MC Fireside Chats. I know we're a little bit over. If you're not tired of hearing from me, in 57 minutes, I'm going to be on Outwired, my other live podcast with Scott Barr. We're going to talk about Sora 2, what happens when nothing on the internet is real anymore, how do you market your campground in that kind of world, and some few other things about AI and technology. So catch us there. Otherwise, we'll see you on another episode of MC Fireside Chats next week, guys. See you later.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks, Stephanie.
Bye.